Hey guys, we are back with another math video for the ACT. It comes from the exam that's called Form 1572 CPRE. That is an introductory exam for the year 2015-16 that the ACT released to the public. I've selected these questions that I'm about to go through because a majority of the students that I've worked with in the past seem to miss these the most on this particular exam. Now, keeping that in mind, hopefully if you're using this exam to practice with, it will help you. I would go through every one of the math questions, but it would just make the videos too long for you guys. So I'm hoping that some of these selected problems is what you're struggling with too. Finally, one more point. One of my purposes is to be able to reach young adults that do not have any access to academic help on the ACT and or the SAT. So please like the videos, share them, and subscribe to them so that they can possibly find us. It would be greatly appreciated. Let's get moving on with the first question. All right. Come on. There it is. Okay, so in this question, which of the following describes a true relationship between these two functions in graphed in the coordinate plane? So notice that the graphs cross, and where they cross, that's a relationship, right? So it means we need to inspect the answer choices to see which one's more logical. Let me get a colored pen tip. I'm going to write on this diagram. So notice they cross here where this red point is, and here where that red point is. So they have 2 points in common. That's one thing that we see real quick. So let's see if there's an answer choice that specifies that. Answer choice F says f of x is equal to g of x for exactly 2 values of x. Well, that is true. That's true. So let's look at G. F of x is equal to g of x for exactly 1 value of x. Well, no, it's exactly 2 values. And it's H says f of x is less than g of x for all value of x. Well, no, that's not true either. Now let me specify something. This parabola is f of x, and then this line is g of x. Just so you're aware, because the formula 1/2 x plus 1 is in a linear form. Okay, so J says f of x is greater than g of x for all values of x. Well, that's not true either. And then K finally says f of x is the inverse of g of x. No, it's not the inverse. So the only thing that makes sense is answer choice A. Okay, well, I guess that's really an F, right? Instead of an A. So let me fix that. F. All right. Now let's move on. So given that f of x, so f of x is equal to x minus 1 over x, g of x is equal to 1 over x. And they say, well, what is f of g of 1/2? Okay, so we've got to determine what g of 1/2 is first. So g of 1/2 is equal to 1 over 1/2. We're dividing by a fraction, so we multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction. We multiply the reciprocal by the numerator. So this is going to be 1 times 2 over 1, which is going to be equal to 2. And so that's g of 1/2. Now we got to take g of 1/2 and put it into f of x. So g of 1/2 is equal to 2. Let me correct this real quick, because I want to put the 2 in there instead of the 1/2. So we're going to put f of 2 is equal to 2 minus 1 over 2. Well, a whole number minus a fraction, we got to make a fraction out of the whole number. So we're going to multiply 2 by 2 over 2, and that's going to give us 4/2. So 4/2 minus 1/2 is equal to 3/2. So f of g of 1/2 is equal to 3/2, which is going to be answer choice K. Alrighty, moving on. Okay, so we have this equation P, and it tells us this is a formula to estimate monthly payments on short-term loans. Now it says A is dollars, is the amount of the loan. R is the annual interest rate expressed as a decimal. And Y is years for the length of the loan. The question says, when A is multiplied by 2, what is the effect on P? All right, so we know the equation says 1/2 A R Y plus A, all divided by 12 times Y. And it says when A is multiplied by 2, what is the effect of P? So we need to set up a relationship here. Let's say A is initially 100. And if you multiply that by 2, then A becomes 200, right? So we want to investigate the relationship when A is 100 and when A is 200. All right. So one other thing, I want to try to make this as easy as possible. And as far as the interest rate is concerned, let's assume there's no interest rate, because if we make the interest rate 0.05 with both of these, it just makes it more complicated. So I'm not going to put in any interest rate, and it will still help us. Okay, so when A is 100, we're going to take this formula, and we're going to have 1/2 times 100 times, now we're not going to use the R, but we got to put a value in here for Y, and let's just say Y is 2 years, times 2 plus 100. Now 12 times 2, that's going to be 24 or 24 months. So when we take 1/2 of 100, multiply it by 2 and add 100 and divide by 24, we get 4.58. So now we have evaluated this equation when A is 100. Now we want to do it when A is 200. So therefore, we're going to say 1/2 times 200. And again, we're not going to throw in the interest rate, but we're going to throw in the years. And it's going to be 12 times 2 again, or 24 in the denominator. When you multiply 1/2 times 200, multiply it by 2 and add 200 and divide by 24, you get 9.16. So when A has been multiplied by 2, there's a relationship between the two. And so 9.16 divided by 4.58. So 9.16 is 2 times greater than the original. Okay, so we want to look at our answer choices and see which one gives us that. And when we do, we're going to find that D as in dog, P is multiplied by 2. D as in dog represents what we found out. All right. The next question. Okay. So this one's pretty straightforward. A lot of people just forget to deal with the radicals in the denominator, and that's okay. We'll do that now. That's not hard. So we have two fractions, 4 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 3. Now we're adding two fractions, and when you add two fractions, you've got to have like denominators. And so to do that, I'm going to take 4 over 2 over the square root of 2, sorry, and I'm going to multiply it by square root of 3 over square root of 3. Well, that's going to be 4 square root of 3 over square root of 3 times the square root of 2. Now, 2 square root of 3, we need a square root of 2 in that denominator. So we're going to multiply this one by square root of 2 over square root of 2. So the numerator is going to be 2 times the square root of 2 over 3 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 2. Now we can further simplify this. We can't add 4 square root of 3 to 2 square root of 2. So that's got to stay the same. But we can simplify the denominator. So square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is just the square root of 6. So now we've simplified this, and we found that it ends up being answer choice G. All right, let's move on. Now, one of the last ones, most people struggle with ratios for some reason. I think it goes back to not being exposed to them enough since you're taking algebra and things like that. But let's look at what's common to the two. So we know that x to y is 5 to 2. And then we know y to z is 3 to 2. So there's a common variable in both ratios of y. We want the ratio to be x to z. We're trying to get x to z, or we can write it over x over z, either way. So we're going to manipulate our ratios so that we cancel the y term. So I'm going to write x over y times y over z. Now notice when you multiply these together, you get x, y over y, z. So the y's will cancel and leave you x over z. Now let's take the numbers and substitute them in to the x, y, and z terms. And so we know x is a 5. We know y in that x to y ratio is a 2. And then we know the y to z is a 3 over a 2. Okay, so you can multiply these together and get 15 over 4. Or you can write that as 15 to 4. Therefore, that's going to come out and give us answer choice E. Now, this was a nice short video. Most people didn't struggle with anything else on this particular math exam. So I hope if you are studying for the ACT right now, that this helped you. Perhaps you've struggled with a couple of these, like the majority of the students I've helped in the past. Please remember, one of the purposes for us to be doing this is to help young adults who do not have any access to academic help outside of school. So please like, share, and subscribe. Help somebody else. And I wish you all the best on your studies for your ACT.